The great twin-tailed comet, a portent tied to both Sigmar and the Empire, has been seen in the sky. For some, it is a sign of hope. To others, it can mean only one thing. The end times are at hand.
So when somebody comes up to me and asks, so the new edition, what's it really all about? Well, I like to tell them that it's a new way to experience the old world. That it's still very much a traditional role-playing experience in terms of the people sitting around the table telling some exciting stories that they're going to be glad to talk about for years to come, but that we were able to integrate a lot of the things that Fantasy Flight Games does really well. Create some beautiful imagery, some top-notch production quality components, and combine that with the popular Games Workshop setting. And when we put all that together, we're able to deliver a role-playing game that really is unlike anything else on the market.
I have many fond memories of Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay and the Warhammer world in general, stretching back to my early years and my formative years as a hobbyist and as a gamer. The fact that every enemy was dangerous, that was incredibly important, that was significant. The fact that, as compared to other fantasy role-playing games, there was very little healing. And if you were injured in Warhammer, you stayed injured for a long time, and it was a big deal. Those sorts of things very much influenced our design.
The relationship with Games Workshop was critical to the success of the development of Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. We worked with Games Workshop very closely with members of their licensing department, in particular Owen Reese, who really helped us shape the foundation of what the Warhammer Fantasy experience needs to be, to make sure that it was in line with other ways that Warhammer Fantasy is being portrayed. That it's gritty and grim and perilous, quirky and odd, that there's a sense of black humor mixed in with the rest of all of the trials and tribulations that they face.
It's a frightening, frightening place. Like, there's very, very small pockets of human civilization, and those could be overrun at any minute by orcs or, a chaos horde or disease. It's a place you'd never want to be and you can never can be comfortable in.
Games Workshop was involved in every step of the process to make sure that the design decisions and the flavor text and the setting information that we were providing was still doing justice to the very popular Warhammer Fantasy setting. And it's really exciting to be able to see from playtest reports and from a lot of the different people who have experienced the game so far that this really helps capture some of the dark, grim, and risk that's present in the old world setting in a way that they hadn't been able to experience before. One of the ways that I knew that we were on the right path for the design process was after some playtesting of an early prototype of the game, there reached a point where one of the players paused for a moment, and I wasn't sure if I needed to clarify something or maybe we needed to go over one of the rules to be able to explain what was going on. And he's like, this is a really tough decision. I'm like, well, that's great. And that was really encouraging to me early on to be able to see that the number of options that we were providing to the players gave him the right feel at the table, that he felt that he had enough options there and enough valuable options that he wanted to be able to pursue a variety of different approaches, but based on the situation knew that he had to choose one approach, and that his character's fate was hanging in the balance of the decisions that he would make. And the more that we started to playtest and come to the realization that the players were being faced with these really important, really interesting decisions that they would talk about after the session was over, we really knew that we were onto something.
Party Sheet was, I think, the first brand new thing that was that I was exposed to about the third edition of Warhammer that I just went, wow, that's brilliant. The whole idea that the party is a character in its own right, and that it is a more teamwork-oriented game than previous editions. The Party Sheet is a way to not only set a party identity, whether you're the gang of thugs or the servants of justice, that says a lot about how you as a group want to proceed through the story, but it gives you mechanical benefits to working together. You can socket talents into the party sheet that they can then be shared by your entire party. So if I am a soldier and I have the charge talent, I can share that with my friends. I can teach them how to charge and put that talent into the sheet.
Pretty much everyone has their own individual goals, right? And sometimes it's hard to reconcile someone who wants to play a character of like maybe an evil alignment with someone who has a good alignment. And I think this party sheet's a great way of kind of creating some cohesiveness with the group and giving the group a direction.
One of the elements that I'm most proud of is the development of the stance system. And it represents both a visual way to be able to indicate to the players at the table the attitude that the character is adopting by actually having a track in front of them with color-coded pieces that fit together like puzzle pieces. So there's a very visual cue available, but also how that ties into a lot of the other effects. From the dice that they roll when they're performing an action, to which side of an action card they look at to find out what effects or results may occur, to a variety of other situations.
It's one thing to say at the table, I am playing a very rash, reckless, bold person, and that may be all you need, but we also let you not just have the interaction with the players, but have the interaction with the mechanics of the game. You have a game that actually structurally rewards you for playing in that character. It gives you a different play experience, depending on whether you want to be a brash and reckless character or a thoughtful and contemplative character.